Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Scott Stedman podcast. Hope you're having a good day. Glad to be back from hiatus. I was traveling. I was doing a mission trip in Puerto Rico. Even tried to record something in Puerto Rico just to let people know that we weren't dropping a new episode, and the Podbean app definitely was not working right, or definitely couldn't even put something out there. So do apologize that we didn't have something last week for you all to listen to, but we're back today, and joining me is Micah Current. Micah, how are you doing?
We survived the heat wave. Um, well,
Yeah.
last week was pretty brutal. It was in the 90s every day. So,
And you know
uh,
what's hilarious about that? In Puerto Rico, it didn't get past 87. It was cooler in Puerto Rico, which were closer to the equator than it was in Ohio that week I was gone.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
Where are you? Brazil? It's only 47 degrees. Where are you at? Ohio, it's 91.
Yikes. Oh, goodness. Wonderful. Oh, yeah, but I'm glad everyone survived the heat wave. I know in Columbus we had a couple of like really wicked thunderstorms due to all the heat.
Yep.
So that was good. Like when I came home, the first thing I did was check my plants, make sure I was still growing all my vegetables, and none of my plants died during the heat. Because anytime when I leave, there's always been how do I say it? Anytime when I leave, my wife and my kids are not don't do a good job of thinking we need to water dad's plants. So then when I come back, everything's dead. But now everything's growing healthy. I actually might have watermelon this year because that would be the first thing that would die would be my watermelon plant. It's like, well, no watermelon this year, kids. Oh,
Or they'd be
goodness.
like, oh, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. I'll grow back. And yeah, it does. It eventually does start to relive. But then by the time winter comes around, you only have like a watermelon that's not even ripe. That's like, I don't know, like that big. It's like, yeah, that's not going to work for us. Um, But our topic today is going to be an interesting topic, and maybe it might seem like a strange topic because maybe some of you who are church leaders, or maybe you're people who work in your national denominations, or maybe you're on a committee for like a church conference that circulates. One of the topics we're going to be discussing is the idea of should people have to pay for our digital content? Um, that means anything from live streaming to even like breakout sessions. And kind of what prompts this, and Micah, you can kind of share more, but this past week we started the Church of God started their General Assembly out in Denver, and they always have an option where you can pay the money to travel out to Denver, watch everything live, sessions, breakout sessions, and even vote in the business meeting. Or you can do a online option, which you pay to get the stream so that you can watch stuff. But then, you could also participate in voting in the business meetings as well. But one thing you mentioned is that just the general sessions, like those weren't live streamed anywhere. And even just people who are not pastors, who are just maybe people who love the Church of God, who are supporters of the Church of God, and they would just kind of like to hear the general sessions, you couldn't even watch those without having to pay to watch those sessions. So, Mike, I kind of talk a little bit more about that. Any spots I may have left out?
So yeah, I well, let me just say this. NAC happens every what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
Because on the off years they have the regional conventions.
Hmm.
So last week was the NAC convention, like the big one, which was in Denver. And 2 years ago, I paid to attend the virtual session so I could attend GA, so that I could do, so I could vote, so I could see, breakout sessions of folks that I wanted to, hear speak and do things, on select topics. I don't know. I'm just making this up. For example, Jeanette Flynn did one on the coming of the Holy Spirit. I don't know. But there are sessions that happen during camp meeting or NAC that, if you attend or you attend virtually, you get to be a part of those. Um, so last week I noticed uh, when NAC started that you couldn't watch the services. And
Mm.
I was like, why can't you watch the services? Well, you have to be registered to attend virtually. And even if you don't um, attend the breakout sessions, even if you don't attend GA, even if you don't do any of the other things that are offered within the NAC bubble, you still had to pay to go to or watch the service. And I was telling you before we hit record that, my grandmother, who recently just passed away, I remember as a kid, like we would go to Anderson and we would literally just go to church because that's what it was. It was a big church service, and people, would fill up Warner Auditorium, uh, fill up the tent after the asbestos wiped out everybody else. I'm just kidding.
But
But I mean, because was it asbestos?
it was asbestos, yeah.
Um, and then they did the tent, and then they did the rec center. Um, but anyway, like we would go and we would attend, and there would just be a really powerful time of worship, good speakers, things like that. And I just think it's absolutely absurd that I have to pay to go to church essentially.
Yeah.
And um, I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and I'm like, is it legal to charge people to watch your stuff on YouTube and Facebook because you know, you're not doing it for monetization.
Yeah.
Um, but who profits that money? And YouTube and Facebook aren't going to have their hands out if you're streaming because they're not going to know because
Yeah.
you've got millions of streamers all over the world that stream and do video games and they do um, camping videos, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I it just really puzzles me. And like I saw, some folks on social media that I know who are some older pastors, who are some older folks who I've known over the years, and they were on, discussing this very topic on social media. And the thing was, what, why can't we watch the service? And somebody put, because it's all about the money. And it was
Mm.
like, and they put like dollar signs in the caption of the comment. And again, I don't think that it's completely necessary to, if you want to charge for speakers and you want to charge for breakout sessions and if you want to charge to attend GA and all those things, great. But if you just want to be a part of the services and go to the services and quote go to church, then don't charge people. Also, I'm just going to throw this out here, Scott, but don't you think that if you didn't charge, that your attendance would be bigger, especially online?
Um, yeah, so yeah, there's a couple of interesting things about that. But yeah, I think this is the kind of thing when it comes to social media. So for an example, when just in conferences in general, like for church services, like we stream our church service free. I know you can watch any of like even if you want to look at like your mega churches, your Bethel, Hillsong, Elevation, uh, even if you want to go to like Ken Copeland Ministries, which I wouldn't recommend, you can watch all that stuff for free, right? Um, you can watch any of that stuff for free. They don't charge. When it comes to conventions and conferences, I know sometimes, and I think it really depends what it is. Like, if I understand, like the breakout sessions, the business meetings, all those stuff. Like, I understand you having to pay to be a part of those because that's going to help you check, is this person, is this person a delegate? Is this person a ordained minister within our denomination to be able to vote on these topics of business? Like that, I totally understand. But but when it comes to like just your normal worship church services, I really don't see why that can't be streamed for free for people to know, especially because even though this is a convention for pastors and delegates to talk about the Church of God, the future of the Church of God, and everything, but I also think that for people who are members of the Church of God congregation, or even if they're not part of the Church of God anymore, maybe they go to a different church for whatever reasons, they still love the Church of God. They still believe in the Church of God's theology and what they stand for. So I really don't see why we can't either A, stream that service and make it available to everybody, and B, or if for some reason you have issues with your technology and you can't stream it, why you can't just record it while you're streaming it and then just put that service on like your a Facebook or a YouTube or any of your social media services like a couple hours later or the next day for people to watch if it is a challenge. Like, because again, it's not affecting business, it's not affecting any of the specialty sessions you're going to help equip you to make you a better leader. It's just a worship service. And the way social media works, like, so like you said, will more people attend? Yeah. If I was the leader of putting this conference on and I decided, hey, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put this stuff, we're going to stream it on like our YouTube page. And then all of a sudden I have thousands of people from all over the world watching this general conference online, then that is potentially going to open up monetization for me, right? And again, I don't want to get into the nickels and dimes of money, but the fact that something's now monetized because I have enough followers, I have enough views and everything else, that even just putting something out there for free, I'm still going to get a little bit of a kickback from that. It may not be much, but at least it's something that can kind of go to maybe help use that to better our streaming equipment if we are having issues with our streaming equipment or whatever the case may be. Um, but yeah, I mean, at least I feel like with any conference, your general session should at least be able to be free, or at least if you're going to say it's not be free, it needs to be clear that, hey, you're not going to be able to watch this. Everything is under the umbrella of the online subscription that you're going to be paying. And even if you want to break it down to say, hey, if you're just a regular church member, just for licensing purposes or whatever the case may be, if you're, again, it all goes back to transparency. If you're saying, hey, because it costs X amount of, hey, it takes money to run this thing effectively. If you want to watch just the general sessions, $5, you can watch the general sessions. And if that's enough, then why it's not free? Maybe I might be annoyed that it's free, but $5 to watch all 4 or 5 general sessions at general conference, like, and worship, like, I'm okay with that. Because again, that's me saving me gas and hotel and travel expenses, everything else from getting to Denver, that I'm okay with paying the $5 to watch it. Um, but yeah, I don't know, Micah. That's just kind of my thoughts. What are your thoughts about all that I just said? Are you
No, I think it's good. Like, I mean, there's got to be some sort of compromise too, because there's a generation, older generation, who may not understand, um, or can't afford to get away to go to Denver and may not understand the technology enough to do that, but like they can get on YouTube or get on Facebook and they can watch the services that way. Um, I think it's absurd that you're charging for that. Um, given like I almost look at it as like, okay, Scott, you and I have been in ministry, let's say 40 years. Well, I don't think we should even have to pay $5 to go be able to watch something online for free because we're not
Hmm.
there. It's almost like we're being punished for not being there.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah. No, I mean, well, yeah, and actually it's interesting too because I just kind of looked up just and there's some people who are charging for their thing, but like again, looking at the Latter-day Saints, it says way to watch or listen to the General Conference live. And they have this whole thing. Here's how you can watch it online. Here's the mobile apps you can use to watch the General Conference. And if you want to watch it in person, if you want to go to in person, here's where you go. But if you want to listen to it on the radio or TV, or they even have like an Amazon Alexa device where you could listen to the LDS General Conference on your Alexa device. You can say, Alexa, play me the LDS General Conference, and it will pop up and you can listen to it while you're having dinner. But everything that they have is free. Um, but then you look at somewhere like Lutheran Church, like they actually do have a thing where you have to pay, um, and and everything else. And like even for the United Methodist Church, like for their general conference, um, they're just only having you pay $50 to watch everything. And they even say a lot of that just comes to the cost to do a live stream. Like they're basically saying it's not like it's that's just covering the cost of being doing their live stream and making sure you have all your and again they're more intricate than the Church of God as far as what all that entails. But again, on their website they're breaking it down everything why you have to pay $50 and everything else like communication again, communication is right there for you to do it. But yeah, I find it interesting that some churches pay, some churches don't for their general session.
Why do you think that the Church of God is so bad at communication? And that could be anything from Atlas to Minister Connector to Church of God national conventions to regional conventions to who's going to be in what spot, who's serving here and where as a general director, for example. Um, I, I just feel like there's this communication breakdown.
um, well, I I will tell you what I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I'll tell you what I think. I think the reason why, especially when it comes to like communication devices like Atlas, I think the Church of God wants to have they have a vision for an effective communication devices for churches and pastors and church leaders, and all in one place for your registration, for trying to find a church job, to trying to find a pastor, to have leadership training. They want this great, big, wonderful thing that's going to benefit a lot of pastors, and yet they don't want to pay the cost that entails for it. So you have the big vision, but you're basically paying quarters for this big vision, and then it falls flat, and it does not effective, and it doesn't work very well. I think the other thing is why things are so bad in. I think the other reason why the Church of God is so bad at communication, and it may be kind of like a snake eating its own tail type of a thing. I think they're kind of very hesitant to communicate things because the history within the Church of God is that anytime when anything's communicated, whether it's a change, any type of change, whether good change, bad change, indifferent change, there's always going to be people. who are going to be angry about it, and they're going to make a big stink and they're going to voice their anger on the social webs, right?
Well, and I was going to say that just a minute ago, but like some of the other comments I read from some of the older pastors that I know on Facebook, um, they, I think Church of God Ministries posted, "What would you like to see happen at NAC now or in the future?" And somebody said, "Can we put it back in Anderson?"
Yeah. So so people complain, but then because people are complaining about everything that the Church of God does, then that doesn't make the national office want to be able to communicate effectively because they don't want to have to deal with the outrage. So then they kind of stay silent until to the point where they have to communicate something, right? Like the fact that, like, I know one of the things that they said, and this is something that happened at General Convention that some people who were there said, is that during the business meeting, they always go over old business. They present some of the stuff that people turned in back like before April to be presented at General Conference to be ratified or voted on. But there's always this option that new business, if you have 2/3 of the body that's in attendance of the committee, not the committee, if 2/3 of the general conference wants to bring up new business, they can from the floor. And that's just in the bylaws. That's everything. That's just kind of how everything operates. And then it was the very first day of convention, it was made that, hey, during the business meeting, we're not going to be able to we're not taking new business from the floor. Even if you have 2/3 of the general conference wants to present new business, we're just not taking it. And it's like, well, what are you going to do now? Because it's during the conference and you're being told that. Like, and I would assume that there had to be some type of amendment or approval for that to happen from the general conference to be able to make that change so quick. But that was communicated late, and it was like, oh, well, that's a problem. Like some people see it as a big deal, and I think it is because you're just basically changing the rules like very quickly and didn't give time to communicate, hey, here's some things we're going to be doing this year. And even explain, we have a lot of stuff we have to vote on. We're just not going to be able to take new business from the floor this year because we have 10 things we have new business we have to vote on that has been approved by the committee, whatever the case may be. So yeah, I think why the Church of God is so bad at communicating is because you have leadership that doesn't want to address things because they're scared of the backlash. And yet there's been a history that anytime when any changes happen, whether good, bad, or indifferent, there's always going to be a group of people or a handful of people that are just going to get angry and then spew it all over the internet and say, well, we're not going to be a part of the Church of God anymore. And it's like, it's hard to operate as a nonprofit when everybody gets so mad at everything all the time. And it's hard to operate when you cannot communicate clearly your vision, your direction, any changes or anything because you're afraid of public backlash. So you're just in this cycle of dysfunction that disables you from leading. And whether you like it or not, the people who continue to complain all the time and just bash every new thing that the Church of God does and make threats about leaving the Church of God or their church leaving the Church of God or whatever is actually doing more damage to the denomination. And I think, I do give credit to where credit is due with Jim doing those town halls. Because I felt like at least from those, whether you liked them or not, at least everything was kind of communicated. And at least there's people who are able to talk about things and try to tackle so many different things about how things are going to happen, what's going on, and everything. Sometimes it took like 3-4 weeks to be able to do it after something major comes up. And it's like, okay, it's a little too late now. You kind of missed your window. But that's what I think. I'm like Church of God is so bad at communication. Agree or disagree, Mike?
I mean, I agree with you. It's just, I guess my question is, why wouldn't you want to be better?
mm,
Why wouldn't you want to make things better for yourself, for the ministry, for the church, XYZ?
yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's discouraging to say the least, right? Like it's hard. It's yeah, I think it's just really hard because that's the thing. Even the people who complained about no new business being disabled for to be on the floor, they still love the Church of God. They're still talking about all the great things they're experiencing at General Conference. They're still, doing that. So I don't think that people are out there complaining or being evil because they absolutely hate the Church of God and they want to see it destroyed. I think it's more of they they love the Church of God, but they're just not willing to pull the plank out of their own eye as they're judging all these specs that are coming from the national office. To use a biblical analogy. Um, and I don't think people realize that your constant complaining and judgment on the Church of God, who, I see is trying to figure out how to navigate with probably a smaller budget than they had 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Trying to navigate how do we have our General Assembly, even though camp meeting was such a big part of that. Like, for me, I feel like that's kind of a huge thing to be able to do. And it's just sad to see it come that way that, you know, we can't have conversations because people are going to get mad and leadership doesn't want to have conversations. So to do it right at the last second because then no one can do anything about it. They can't talk, grumble, or complain. I mean, they can still grumble and complain about it, but they can't do anything to change it or try to make an appeal because it's already done. And that's just the way they have to do it because even if they say, hey, here's kind of where we're thinking, and people are like, no, then it's like they can never get anything done. They can't make any changes because everyone's just so mad all the time. So those are my thoughts.
There you go.
There you go, friends. So to kind of get, I know we kind of went off topic about people charging. So, I mean, I think overall, I don't mind charging for people that happen to charge if they're doing online breakout sessions, charging for being part of business meetings where they have to vote, make decisions. But I really feel like general sessions, which are basically, church services with it during the week, there should be some type where people can access that information for free. I mean, if I can go to any church in America or even church overseas and be able to watch their worship service and their church service for free, I don't see why I have to pay to watch a church service at a general conference, especially if I'm someone who is not going to vote, who's not going to go to any of these breakout sessions. I just want to watch the sessions. I should just be able to watch them for free. Whether that's if I can watch a live stream for that, or if it's too complicated, just put the full video, upload it to YouTube or Facebook hours later or the next day, then I'll be happy if I'm one of those people who really want to watch it. Like It's not that hard to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, seems like it's just the same stuff over and over again.
Yep. I hear you. I hear you, brother. So, friends, let us know what you think. Are you somebody who has gone to a conference and you had to pay for the online streaming? Did you mind it? Did you hate it? Are you someone who maybe you pay for, maybe you have a denomination where you pay for all the important sessions, but your general worship sessions are free? And how do you implement that? And how has been the response? We would like to hear all your comments and all your thoughts about that. So, friends, you can either leave a comment or you can email us at our website, thescottstedman.com. Friends, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back on with another episode. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Scott Stedman Podcast. The Scott Stedman Podcast is made possible by support from our listeners. We thank listeners like Patty and Scott, whose support goes to this podcast's continual growth and maintenance. If you want to support this podcast, you can do so in a number of ways. First, feel free to give us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed this episode and share it with your friends. If you'd like to financially support the Scott Stedman Podcast, you can go to the website ko-fi.com/the Scott Stedman Podcast. That website again is ko-fi.com/the Scott Stedman Podcast. Thank you so much for listening.